your kingdom purpose and just talking a bit about what it means. And the word that is underlined there is your. And generally speaking, I like to, especially for something like this, like to speak to everybody. But unfortunately, I can't today. I feel this message isn't for everybody. It's for you. Yeah, you. And as we go through, you'll begin to understand why. Let me ask you this. Have you ever wanted to be someone else? Okay, a couple of people nodding. Yeah, right. Do you ever look at someone else's life and think, I wish. Oh, their work seems better. Their house seems better. Their relationships seem better. Their life seems better. Their kids seem better. Right? They behave better. They got better GCSE results. They got better A-level results. Their gifts seem better. Their garden really is greener. You know, our social media world can fuel this spirit of comparison, envy, jealousy, and discontentment. Growing up, I wanted to be... I did. I wanted to be Superman. I really did. I would put a cape on. I would put a cape on at home, and I would attempt to fly. You're not allowed to share this next bit with anyone else, but I'd even want to be Mary Poppins. So we had a wall outside our house, and I would jump from the wall with an umbrella. I thought, let's try it on the wall first. And then if it doesn't turn over, then I'll go up to the top of the house. And then I wanted to be a guy called, I just made him up, an alter ego, Denver Carisi. I mean, even the name, right? He was the son of a billionaire oil magnate, lived in Beverly Hills, and dare I say, he had girlfriends all around the world, right? Nigeria, UK, US. Yeah, Pedro's not happy with this. And he would fly in his jet just to meet them and spend time with them. Often, though, when we want to be someone else, it's usually because we don't recognize the value of who we are, or what we have, or what we've been called to be. In Matthew 13, Jesus says this: the kingdom of heaven is like treasure in a field, which a man found and covered up. Then in his joy, he goes and sells all that he has and buys that field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant in search of fine pearls, who on finding one pearl of great value went and sold all that he had and bought. So when Jesus was talking about the kingdom, he said it's so valuable. And so in a minute, we get to look into one of my favorite parables, the parable of the talent. But it's worth knowing this, that what Jesus is about to share, whenever he's talking about the kingdom, it's something that we will want to give up everything to receive. It's so valuable. It's so incredible. You'll want this. Whenever he's talking about the kingdom, it's something that we'll want. So let's look at Matthew 25. And what is it he's going to share there that is something that we'll want? Start off verse 14 says, "For it will be, the kingdom of heaven will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted to them his property. To one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, to another 1, to each according to his ability. Then he went away. He who had received the 5 talents went at once and traded with them, and he made 5 talents more. So also he who had the 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received the 1 talent went and dug in the ground and hid his master's money." According to the Office of National Statistics here in the UK, the average salary is £33,000 in the UK. And so the equivalent that's being talked about here, some would say the one talent was about £660,000. That was the minimum that was given, 660,000. I mean, some people are smiling here. I was like, wow, I'd love that. 2 talents, 1.3 million. 5 talents, the equivalent of 3.3 million pounds to work with. And it'll be interesting to hear what the master says shortly. Now, after a long time, the master of those servants came and settled accounts with them. And he who had received the 5 talents came forward, bringing 5 talents more, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Here I have made 5 talents more. His master said to him, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little. A little. 3.3 million is a little. Okay? I love God's economy already. So I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. And he also who had the 2 talents came forward, saying, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Here I have made 2 talents more. His master said, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful over a little, 1.3 million. I will set you over much. Enter into the joy of your master. Before we continue, who remembers a film back in the 1980s, show my age, called Brewster's Millions? Yeah, a few people. Yeah. So do you remember? So Brewster had 30 days to effectively waste 30 million in order to get 300 million. And so I read this story and I think it's about, okay, how do you steward this so you get even more? So let's continue. Verse 24. He also who had received the 1 talent came forward, saying, Master, I knew you to be a hard man, reaping where you did not sow and gathering where you scattered no seed. So I was afraid, and I went and hid your talent in the ground. Here you have what's yours. But his master answered, you wicked and slothful servant. You knew that I reap where I have not sown and gather where I scattered no seed. Then you ought to have invested my money with the bankers, and at my coming, I should have received what was my own with interest. So take the talent from him and give it to him who has the 10. For to everyone who has, more will be given, and he will have an abundance. But from the one who has not, even what he has will be taken away, and cast the worthless servant into outer darkness. In that place, there will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Now remember, I started this saying that whatever Jesus was saying about the kingdom is something that we would want to give up everything for. So what is it in this story he's trying to reveal about the kingdom of heaven? And how does it relate to connecting to our calling and unleashing our purpose? We actually see 2 mindsets at play here. We see a non-kingdom mindset in the servant with 1 talent. A non-kingdom mindset is when we think of ourselves as, it's a bit wonky there, I'll just talk through it, just as a slave. We're disconnected from the heart of the master, the heart of the Father. We're irresponsible or complaining, or we operate just by what we see. It's, well, what talent do I have? I don't think I've got anything. Or is it worth it? Does it really make a difference? Can I add, yeah, but I can't sing like them or speak like them or write like them. And we're focused on our own agenda. But what's sobering is this slave, this servant, had been around the master and yet didn't know the master's heart. It's possible for us to be around Jesus and not know Jesus' heart. Miles Monroe put it this way when he said, too many of God's people in the church, in Christendom, only know how to be workers in the field and don't know how to be what it means to be a son or daughter in the house. And it's why I was excited. We were here at the kickoff of this part of the series. It's essential that we start with identity, and I know that's what TJ was talking about, identity. If we are ever to be who we were made to be, if we are to do what we were made to do, then we first need to know who we are. And this all starts with identity as sons and daughters, stewarding resources, stewarding talent, stewarding abilities on behalf of our Father. There's the second mindset that we see. And again, you won't see this, but I'll just talk through it. The second mindset is the kingdom mindset of the stewards, the servants with the 2 and 5. They were stewards. There was intimacy. They knew the heart of the master. They were purposeful. They were resourceful. They operated by faith, vision. They took ownership. They focused on the king's agenda. I remember the first time I connected with this concept of stewardship. I was at a Kingdom at Work conference. It was 2019 in Texas. And there were different speakers there. And one of the speakers, you read all of the speaker bios, profiles, and one of the speakers described themselves as chief steward of their organization. And I thought, ooh, chief steward. I mean, talk about CPO, chief prayer officer, all of that, right? I thought, chief steward, I want to go see this guy. And it wasn't a not-for-profit organization. It was a for-profit organization, but described himself as chief steward. And I went over and chatted with him, and he said, hey, we believe that this business has been given to us by God. It's for the benefit of the kingdom. And so I see myself as the chief steward. And so our recruitment practices, comp and ben practices, everything, we look at them through the lens of what is beneficial for the kingdom. What does it look like to steward kingdom resources? And I thought, wow, that's amazing, isn't it? And then we see, just as these kingdom stewards, these sons and daughters, as they live out the reality of the kingdom, we start to see different things at play that speak to what Jesus is saying. Hey, when you get the kingdom, when you understand the kingdom, you'll want to give up everything for it. Because the kingdom economy works very differently. The first thing we see in the kingdom economy, whatever you invest, let's go back to that. Whatever you invest will grow. That was whatever you invest will grow. Whether it's one, whether it's two, it's, hey, all I know how to do is just develop my muscles and put the tables out on a Sunday, right? It will grow, right? I mean, already that, whatever you do will grow. So we live in a world where some people work in banks, right? Stock market. They'll always say, if you're going to invest, there's always that caveat, right? In small print. And they say it's a risk because your money could go up or down, right? They say, hey, so whenever you're investing in the stock market, you are taking a risk. The kingdom economy is different. Whatever you invest will grow. Whatever you invest will grow. The other thing that you understand in the kingdom is that everyone has a purpose. Not just the leaders, not just those who seem like they've got loads of talent, but everyone has a purpose and everyone has an assignment. That's one of the reasons why I said this isn't for everyone, this message, it's for you. Because it means you have a purpose, you have an assignment. I remember chatting with a mentor many years ago, and he said this to me, Obi, not everyone can be prominent, right? So not everyone gets to be public, not everyone gets, but everyone is significant. Everyone has a purpose. God wants to partner with everyone in his kingdom. Something else that we discover in the kingdom is that we have full permission to use all our gifts for the betterment of mankind. So the question then is, how do we do this? How do we live in such a way that we get to, like the 5 talent, 2 talent, that we get to hear the words, well done? We want to share 3 things, and partway through, Paige will come up and share. So we want to share 3 things that we need to know what. We need to know what have we been given. We need to know why we've been given it. And we need to know the how. Some of the what, you've already started having conversations about it. One of my favorite ones is the ikigai. Anyone familiar with ikigai? Yeah, so a few. Brilliant. So I love ikigai. It's a Japanese concept for a reason for being. So what is it that you love? What is it that God's put on your heart? You'll see some overlaps between this and shape concept, which was talked about. TJ talked about that a while ago. So what do you love? What does the world need? What's the need that you see? Because there is a need that you will see that the person right next to you won't. There's a need in this world that is on Father's heart that he expresses through you. Yeah. What are you good at? What are the skills, the capabilities that you've been given? And then what can you be paid for? Some might be familiar with the Kendrick brothers, who have produced movies coming out of a specific church in Atlanta. They've produced War Room, Overcomer, Facing the Giants, recently, Fireproof, Courageous, some of the guys. Flywheel, right? There's so many, and it just started with an idea. Hey, let's produce something that is edifying. It was a church ministry, and then it just grew. It just grew to have such an incredible impact because they were thinking on purpose. Hey, we have an assignment. There's a need that I see, and we're not going to wait for Hollywood to produce this. We're going to do this. Many are familiar with this already, shape, so it's another way of thinking about it. What are your spiritual gifts, your heart, your abilities, your personality, your experiences? Here's what it's looking like for us. This is what we've been doing. So early this year, we launched our first leadership conference. Paige and I run a company called Core Leaders International. And we have just felt, I do a lot of work with leaders. I coach a lot of leaders. I get to hear personally some of the struggles, some of the challenges, senior leaders who on the one hand, we will all see them suited and booted, behind closed doors, are struggling and under pressure. And many would say a lot of the resources out there just don't go deep enough, which is why sometimes I have to go and snort cocaine or just turn to alcohol because I don't have something that really goes deep enough. And so part of what we launched early this year was our Core 2025 conference. We've got Core 2026 next year, and our mission is to champion a standard of leadership that transcends the ordinary. Awakening purpose-driven, centered leaders who create transformative impact and thrive in a complex world. We are specifically helping leaders integrate personal, relational, professional, and spiritual core, bringing in that sense of purpose, that sense of growth. And in the business world, a lot of the time people shy away from the spiritual because they often think, oh, it's religious. We are being very intentional about saying you need the spiritual. And we can have the conversations with some people on a primary school, nursery, kindergarten level, or a PhD level if they've got faith. But we're just saying leaders need something so much deeper. And we had our conference, said at the beginning of the year, you'll see TJ was there, Sarah Meisinger was there. Actually, I was inspired to invite Sarah because a year ago, Sarah and Jack were speaking here, and I got to hear about some of Sarah's competency, and I thought, oh, Sarah needs to be at our conference. And Marlon spoke there. Toye and Enie spoke as well. Peju hosted the event, so it was fantastic. There were so many just great friends who were there. Ronke was there. Some people might remember Dwight, Ian, Joseph, Bevis, Alan. So these were some of the people. And now here's something else that we're doing, so I'll let Peju share this.
It's exciting to be partnering with God to bring the kingdom to the marketplace. And I've realized that one of the most important things I can do for my children is to love and honor their father. One of the most important things I can do for my husband is to love and honor myself. One of the most important things I can do for myself is to love and honor God. So it really starts with God, and it trickles into every other significant relationship in my life. We've been married 23 years, and we've journeyed with a lot of people over that time, a lot of couples. And sadly, our hearts have been breaking to see couples with faith separating, and to see couples with faith getting divorced, and to see couples with faith dwindling and not thriving. And we just asked ourselves, God, what role can we play? Because we do believe, even in 2025, marriage is such a force for good. Yeah. God's imprint is all over marriage, and it's really a picture of bringing, like Tidu was saying, more love, more belonging, more connectivity into a world that is crying out for something deeper, for a sense of wanting to know that they can be seen and heard and treasured and valued and respected. So we decided we'd start a show and just talk about the things we've learned over 23 years of marriage. So Obi the Jedi, Obi-Wan Kenobi the Jedi, and my brand name is The Spark. So we started the Jedi and the Spark show. We record in a studio in Wokingham, and every month we talk about something that's significant for couples. We talk about finances, we talk about intimacy beyond the bedroom, we talk about sharing values, we talk about, what else do we
Money,
talk about?
finances.
We talk about pressure, external pressure. We talk about loneliness in marriage. We've felt that, we've been there. We talk about having children and the impact of that on a relationship. We talk about rediscovering each other. We talk about courage for the men, using their strength in marriage as a force for good. For the women, using our words as a force for good, because we know that as women, our words can build or destroy in our marriages. So we talk a lot about that. And some of the testimonies we've got have been incredible. There was a lady who came up to me and said, I wish I'd learned about your podcast last year before my marriage broke down. And we've had couples reach out to us to say, thank you so much. What we're learning, what you're sharing, the vulnerability, the failure is really speaking life into our marriage. So it's just us feeling like we have an answer to some of the brokenness that we've experienced in our marriage, and that many couples who just feel the stretch and the strain and the isolation of being pulled in so many directions. We want couples to feel like you're not alone, and we can support and equip you to do the work that needs to be done, because on the other side, the treasure that you build, the intimacy you build for your family, your children, for the world at large is unrivaled.
Brilliant. And Marlon talked about this a few weeks ago as well. Our what isn't just for Sundays or midweeks or when we're together. Our what is for Monday through Friday or Monday through Saturday. We get to partner with Jesus wherever we are in bringing the kingdom reality to challenging needs that the world can't address without the wisdom of the kingdom. Some of that's also playing out. So early this year, I got to deliver a TEDx. It really built on some of the ideas that I share around that model. I ask a question, what happens, what comes out when life squeezes you? And just talk about the importance of leaders in particular, just drawing on the personal, strengthening their personal, relational, professional, spiritual core, and really coming from a place of identity, knowing who they are. Paige, who's also been doing, do you want to come up and share some more about some of your work with your poetry?
Yes. So again, 3 years ago, significant time for us. And I remember just getting a sense, this is when Kobe just started secondary school. And I remember just getting a sense that God was inviting me, not us, but inviting me to step into more. I had been an educator for about 20 years, loved working with young people, really felt called to do it, really felt gifted in what I was bringing, was stepping into neurodiverse teaching, really giving these young, beautiful children a sense of value that they didn't find in schools. So I would go into their homes and we would work under the table. If they wanted to work under the table, we'd sit under the table, we'd read. If they wanted to jump on a trampoline, I would jump with them. We'd do multiplication on a trampoline, giving these young people a sense of value that I really saw them. And a lot of that they didn't get in school. And I felt like God was saying, come. And I was like, God, I love this. I love what I'm doing. What are you calling me into? And again, take the next step. Where are we going, God? Just take the next step. And so part of the picture that God was painting for me was, I'm calling you to step into more where you're able to use the giftings that I have deeply rooted in you about helping people to understand the power of their words. So growing up in Nigeria, it was very, very natural that people would say, your words are powerful, be careful what you say. Your words are powerful, be careful how you speak. But in just here in life, in society, it felt different. And I felt like God was inviting me. And the only phrase I can figure out to say it is that God was inviting me to co-create with him. And I love that so much. I'm a creative. And so I decided I would step into this new space with God and begin to co-create with the power of words. And it was very difficult. And there were so many tears on the journey because I was like, God, what are you doing? And what am I doing? I was happy being a teacher. What have you called me into? But he was inviting me to, before I can unleash you into the world to really speak life into people, I need you to come inwards. So there's a lot of inner deep work I had to do personally. Through that, I was able to birth a book called A Poetic Odyssey of Proclamations, using my love for poetry and my love for language to design a resource for people where they're able to begin to use their words to change their reality, because words are powerful and you can send your words out to really begin to create a different inner narrative for yourselves and for the people around you. And then one thing led to another. People heard what I was doing, and now people are inviting me into organizations to speak. I'm not a drinker. I don't enjoy drinking. But last week I was invited to Diageo, which is the huge brand for drinks, to speak in their HQ in London. But I'm realizing that brands are not even necessarily about what they sell, they're about people. Yeah. And once you are able to speak life into people, you're always going to be relevant. So I'm really beginning to understand God's calling me into more, to use his words in spaces that maybe people don't usually access, the Bible or the kingdom. 2 weeks ago, I was invited to Crisis, the homeless charity, to come and speak, and I was able to perform poetry, really speaking into God's heart for homeless people. So I believe that my calling, and part of the way God expresses that through me, is to use the power of his words to really begin to speak and to invite and call back his children, whatever space they're in, to begin to hear his love for them through the power of my words.
Thank you. Your what is needed by the world. But for us to really unleash our what and unleash our kingdom purpose, we also need to know why. Have a watch of this.
How do I know? A lot of people, when they think of the phrase, how do I know, they always want to put the what behind it. How do I know what I'm supposed to do? The question that you really should ask is, how do I know why I'm here? Because when you know your why, your what becomes more clear and more impactful. If you know, like for instance, people know that I do comedy, but that's what I do. My why is to inspire people to walk in purpose. So I can do comedy, I can write books, I can be in a movie, because all of it is motivated by my why. In fact, I have a new web series out called Michael Jr. Break Time. We probably just did the 6th episode. It's on YouTube. So every single Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we drop a new episode on YouTube of Michael Jr. Break Time. What it is it's me. I travel around the country and I do stand-up comedy, in case you didn't know. And in the middle of my comedy set sometime, I'll stop and just talk to my audience. And we've been filming this, and it's pretty cool. So we're in Winston-Salem. I'm going to show you a clip from Winston-Salem. And I'm just talking to this guy in the audience, and he tells me that he's a musical instructor at a school. So I was like, all right, you're a musical instructor. Can you sing? Let me hear you sing a song. So this is what happened at the last episode of Michael Jr.'s Break Time. Check it. So you're a musical director? Cool.
Yes, sir.
All right, so let me get a couple bars of like Amazing Grace. Can you do the first part of that? Go ahead.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
Wow. That bro could sing. You know what I'm saying? All right. Now, what you give me the version is if your uncle just got out of jail, you got shot in the back when you was a kid. I'm just saying, let me see the hood version real quick, if you know which version I'm talking about. Just see if that exists. Let me see what you got.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me.
I was going to transition into the communion, but if you want to. Okay.
Here's what I want you to catch. The first time I asked him to sing, he knew what he was doing. The second time, he knew why he was doing it. When you know your why, your what becomes more impactful because you're walking towards or in your purpose.
Father doesn't want us to just know what. He wants us to know why. Why we have the what that we've been given, the what that we've been gifted with. In Matthew 25:34, after the parable of the talent, Jesus says, "Then the king will say to those on his right, 'Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. this wasn't an afterthought. Just go back. This wasn't an afterthought. You having a gift, you having the talents, it wasn't an afterthought. It was always Father's plan that we would partner with him. We see that in Genesis 1 when he said, hey, let them have dominion, 26, 27. And the word there, mamlakal, dominion, sovereignty, rulership, kingdom, realm, reign. The kingdom is a family business. God wants his children, you and me, to run the earth department for him so it can look like HQ. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What we do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 2 p.m., 3 p.m. matters to help bring the reality of the kingdom. So we need to know what, we need to know why, so we can hear well done. And finally, we need to know how. And the how is probably the most beautiful and the most exciting part of all of this, because Jesus modeled it. So Jesus said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, the Son can do nothing of his own accord, but only what he sees the Father doing. For whatever the Father does, that the Son does likewise. Jeremiah 33 verse 3, call to me and I will answer you and will tell you great and hidden things you have not known. John 15, 5 and 8, I am the vine, you're the branches, who abides in me and I in him. He is the one that bears much fruit. We were never designed to do our what on our own. It was always meant to be in partnership, and that's the beautiful thing. Unleashing our kingdom purpose is ultimately an invitation to relationship, to intimacy, to encounter with our Father. So I don't want to be Superman anymore. I did at one point in my life. I don't want to be Superman. Because as Bill Johnson says, when you discover who God made you to be, you'll never want to be anyone else. When you discover who God made you to be, you will never want to be anyone else. The world desperately needs Jesus. Our world desperately needs the good news of his kingdom. We need men, women who are unleashing their kingdom purpose every day, filling earth with the fragrance, the values, and the culture of heaven. We need kingdom-minded professors, lawyers, CEOs, police officers, newscasters, coaches, poets, ministers, painters, chefs, gardeners, actors, counselors, handymen, teachers, engineers, entrepreneurs, poets, politicians, nurses, volunteers, leaders who will seek first the kingdom's domain, rule, and heart, and hunger to be in right standing with the King for his glory and our eternal enjoyment, because that is why Jesus came. And just before I pray for the communion, Paige, do you want to come up and say any final words?
Yeah, we wanted to thank you for your attention and just for giving us the space to share part of our journey. It's a lot bigger than we've had time to share about, but we'd love to have conversations as well. And I think for me, just to end, it's to really speak to the complexity of the world we live in now, and just it's volatile. It seems like that. And mental health is a big thing. Really, just our mental state, the effects on us as human beings. Being a human is hard work right now. And just to continue from Obi's theme is that God sees you. He really does. He saw me And he called me to step into more, and he's calling all of us to step into more. And for each of us, it's something different, but it is something so exciting that the world is literally waiting for. So he sees the young marrieds, a ministry that I love. He sees the young mothers, a ministry that I really love. He sees the men, he sees everyone. And I know that so much conversation in the world right now is about just feminism and, really creating spaces for women to thrive. And there's a sense that men are feeling left out and not seen. And I really believe God's heart is that everyone thrives. So whether it will be speaking to male leaders, and I'm coaching female leaders, and we're being invited to spaces even internationally to speak to both matter. And the full expression of God is through the men and the women. So just wanted to say thank you and to bless you all for your time. Yeah.
I'm just going to pray for that. In John 10:10, Jesus said, "The thief comes only to steal, kill, and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly." There is a painful reality despite a message like this. There is someone and there are beings that do not want you to live out your kingdom purpose. I wish that wasn't true, but it is. But there's also someone who came, he who is in us is greater than he who is in the world. And there is someone who is absolutely committed to your flourishing, to your thriving, to your being an incredible part of the kingdom, so much so that he came to die to make that possible, and that is our Lord and Savior, Jesus. And so to be able to live out our kingdom purpose could not be possible without him.